Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Yesterday I had planned to do a live stream around 3:30. I wanted to play a discussion for you amongst a member of the police, the city council, and EFF Austin that kind of fights for civil liberties and civil rights online. This was going to be a conversation on Axon, LiveView, Flock, that kind of thing. And one of the city council members that was going to appear was going to be one of the ones who was more for the use of this technology by the police. And now you know how I do these live streams. I'll usually live stream the entire conversation and let you listen to the entire thing. And then I'll usually post my commentary in separate videos afterwards. Now, I never have working gear. This is just natural to every single video that I've done on this channel where I show up to a legislative hearing. Doesn't matter what it is, something in my setup doesn't work, and my receiver setup wasn't working. None of my wireless receivers were actually picking up anything. I was stressing, trying to figure out what the hell's going on last minute. And as this was occurring, my girlfriend was nice enough to try and help me with this. She grabbed the microphone that I was going to use for one of the people, and she walked up to a city council member and asked if he would put on the microphone very politely. And this was the conversation that ensued. It was a little bit on the awkward side. I want you to listen to and really dig into the tension, the awkwardness, about it, and I want to discuss that a little bit here.
I just wanted to ask, I'm from local media. I would like to ask if you could mic up so we can have a recording of the session.
Sure,
yeah.
Why not?
So, I'm sorry?
What news outlet is it about?
RG, it's online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm here with Lewis and Mackenzie right there.
How do you feel about them recording this today?
I'll ask my communications.
Well, we weren't notified about it, and I think that we would have preferred to have
that's
recorded.
Why wouldn't you want to be recorded?
And I
our
don't think
own.
Wes.
Informed actually before we came
Who?
about recording. Mackenzie notified.
Not me.
Okay. Just to be sure, you do not want to be recorded for this session?
It's really, as Robbie said, it's house rules.
Yeah, it sounds like it's
the
their
institution,
thing, not us.
So you know how we feel about the vlog cameras, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we
Yeah,
feel the
it's
same way. We
understood.
don't want to be recorded either, so
I think, and
you
thanks for your
probably
opinion
relate
on it.
how we feel about this issue, right?
Well, that's one of the things that we'll probably say
Absolutely.
is there's probably
That's
a
why we're here
decent
to
amount of
address
overlap.
this, yeah.
in terms
So if
of-
you don't want to be recorded, we don't want to be recorded either.
Well, thanks
No,
for your
yeah,
input.
appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Now, she said something that really stuck with me at one point here, which is, okay, so you don't want to be recorded. Now you know how we feel. And it was a great way of politely trying to point out that universality, which is that most people fundamentally feel awkward with the idea of being recorded. Even if you're a politician and you're talking about items that you will be voting on in the future, it's still something that is just kind of strange. You may have noticed that when people were visiting these We Recover data locations all around the country to figure out, is this a real lab or is this a facility where you're just a drop-off place? People were saying in the comments, why are you recording the floor? Why are you recording the wall, man? Like, why are you not doing a good job of being a videographer? And I don't think this is because the people that were recording were amateurs at video. I think it was because most people just try to give others that basic courtesy of, I don't want a camera in my face every single place that I go. And even if it is actually legal in some cases, and I don't even think this stuff is, I really do think this violates the Fourth Amendment. But even if it is legal to have a camera in people's face everywhere, you all understand why that feels weird. And they all felt that weirdness in that moment. And one of the things that they had said is, well, I wish I had known. I wish somebody had emailed or called. I actually did have a member of my team call them, and they said, okay. In fact, there was actually a member of the IT staff of the facility up there that let me into the room that has the mixer so that I could plug in my wireless transmitter and recorder so I could record directly from their mixer, which is not something I imagine would occur if you did not allow people to record. I messed up here in that the person from my team that called them to ask if we could record, I did not direct her to record the conversation on the phone, which I do. I record my phone calls in this matter so that I have receipts, because she actually just trusted that if I say, hey, by the way, somebody from local media is going to show up to record, okay, but that's that. It's settled. And it was not. And the part of the tension in the room is, it's obvious, I show up to these hearings, and whether it's Taylor, Texas, or something in California, Nebraska, Maine, Boston, I show up, I record the things politicians say, and what they say gets put under a microscope by hundreds of thousands of people in the audience that usually hold them to account on it. Sometimes this results in those politicians getting a round of applause, and sometimes it results in them getting a fair amount of criticism. But the point remains, it was palpable that when they noticed who was going to be doing the recording, it's like, how do we get out of this? And you can tell, I don't have video recording, but the way that they were looking at each other is just like, yeah, let's get out of this. And I'm really hoping that some of that feeling of I don't feel comfortable being recorded by Lewis carries over to them understanding the position of the people. Because this really reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where somebody called Seinfeld, it was a telemarketer, and after the telemarketer calls Seinfeld, Jerry's like, I'm kind of busy at the moment, but could I have your home number to call you back later? And he's like, no. And then Jerry says, well, why? You don't want random people having your home number and calling you on your off time? And the telemarketer goes, yeah. And then Jerry goes, well, now you know how I feel. And he hangs up the phone. And I'm not trying to be a wise ass with this, but I really hope that this is hammered home. These things are not done in bad faith. Ironically, I had a 1 hour plus live stream with City Councilman Mike Siegal, who is against these AI surveillance initiatives. And the irony here is that he was actually totally fine going on camera. Not only was he fine going on camera with an edited video, but he was also happy to go on camera for a live video and take questions from the audience. Whereas the members of the city council that are for these surveillance initiatives are the ones that are a little less excited to do that. I'm not trying to do this as a dunk or a gotcha. I'm just trying to point out this fundamental universality so that you can understand how it is people feel in these particular initiatives. And the reason that these people had the camera pointing at the floor, pointing at the wall, instead of pointing at everything is because they just had this basic courtesy of, I realized that lots of people just don't feel like being recorded. And I think that you now understand how that felt in that moment. And one of the things that they said is, well, maybe if I had more notice. One of the things that the bots were saying in all of my videos when it came to the installing the data center infrastructure that's utilized for these AI cameras is that there are all these meetings on record. Nothing was hidden. And when you take a look at the motion, the public hearing was opened at 6:05 p.m. Hearing was closed at 6:06 p.m. Public hearing opened at 6:05, closed at 6:06. LOL, Lamo even. And what he's laughing his ass off is the idea that, yeah, this wasn't rushed through at all, in spite of the fact that the public hearing started at 6:05. Ends at 6:06, and nobody had any idea what was going on. When this stuff gets installed in many people's communities, it's usually done without their knowledge. One of the things that occurs when I get emails on this most often is I had no idea this stuff was in my community at all. Nobody notified me until they go to the DFLOC website. So members of the community have no idea that the stuff is even getting installed because the notice is insufficient. Yet a member of my team actually calling you to tell you that I'm going to be there recording is not good enough. What the? I just find this very interesting. And again, this is one of those things where I think you're starting to understand how we feel. When this stuff gets installed very often around the country, it gets installed under an emergency because the city council will vote against it. And when the city council will vote against it being installed, usually they'll try to figure out a way to fast track it through as an emergency. In Denver, they voted 12-0 to get rid of this stuff, and he kept it up anyway using a loophole in contract law, which I went over in that video. And I think it's really important to point out, not in a dickhead way, not in a I'm dunking on you way, that all the concerns that you have about being recorded yourself are the same concerns that the residents are feeling. Except the only difference here is that here we're talking about me recording a panel discussion between the police, the EFF, and the city council, whereas your recording is going to be tracking everywhere that I go for the rest of my life. Now, this is my personal opinion. This is just something that some people may say is extreme, but I believe that if you are an elected official, I want to see a body cam on you, to be honest. I want to see I want every time you're having a discussion on something related to your business, I want to have access to that. Yeah, that may be an extreme position, but that's just me after all the stuff that I've dealt with when dealing with politicians and lobbying for right to repair, DMCA, and everything else over the past 12 years. I think in these moments, it's really important to point out to these particular officials is the very discomfort that you may have with the idea of somebody just recording conversation that's occurring in your place. And many of them may be legitimate reasons for not feeling comfortable with having a recording of a conversation are the same way that your residents feel. I don't want to knock on all these people for having a level of discomfort with being recorded. To be clear, that's a discomfort that many people in my audience may have with being recorded. I don't want to crap on them for any of that, or any of that awkwardness, because it's the same awkwardness that I think most people in my audience would have if somebody just showed up and put a camera in their face. That awkwardness is there for a reason, but it's also the thing that really does need to be pointed out as the elephant in the room, is that same awkwardness that you are feeling towards that is the same awkwardness that your citizens are feeling towards that they are screaming back against over and over again. I do have a recording of this. It's a horribly low quality recording for very obvious reasons, but I do have a recording of it. I'm going to leave a link to a post down below of a poll, and based on the results of the poll, I may or may not release the recording. I'm still debating on it, what to do, and I don't even know what I'm going to do regardless of the result of it. They said that they did not want to be recorded. I don't want to be recorded either. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, hope you learned something.